In this episode of Recreating Iconic Drum Sounds, we're going to take a look at the UK's top-selling drummer, Mr. Ash SOAN. UK-based drummer Ash SOAN is one of today's most profiled figures in the drumming world. His vast body of work includes recording for famous artists such as Adele, Seal, James Morrison, Robbie Williams, Billy Idol, and Celine Dion, which makes him one of today's most in-demand drummers, especially for studio work. His unique sound and style always fits the music perfectly, and the sounds he gets in his one-of-a-kind windmill studio are outstanding. Today, we're gonna take a look at how you can achieve a drum sound similar to Ash's. First, we're going to recreate his drum part to Set Fire to the Rain by Adele. After that, we're also going to recreate an Instagram post of his as well. Since the audio mixing process is just as important as the drums themselves for these sounds, we're going to talk about Pascal's approach to mixing in a separate video, which will be released next week. Now, let's start by listening to Set Fire to the Rain for reference. Ash actually uploaded the original drums-only track of the song at some point, so let's take a listen to that as well. As you can hear, this song's drum part is made up of 4 or 5 different layers depending on how you count. There is a main drum set part, which is complemented by a number of overdubs, including a marching snare, a crushed tambourine, or sleigh bells, as well as some cymbal swells and toms. Pascal transcribed and combined all of these parts into 4 layers and will perform them later in this video, so stick around for that. Let's start off our recreation by choosing the right drums. Ash SOAN endorses Gretsch drums, so we used Pascal's Gretsch Brooklyn kit with a 22-inch bass drum, a 14 by 6.5-inch snare, 10 and 16-inch toms, and all stock heads. Both heads of the bass drum are tuned pretty low and muffled with some blankets. The snare is tuned quite low. And muffled with 2 mini muffs and a crown gel for a warm and full sound when played without rim shots. Take a listen. Ash's toms are usually tuned medium-low, so we did the same, although Set Fire to the Rain doesn't contain any toms on the main drum set part. So we used some of Ash's Instagram videos for reference and ended up with this. Some Remo crown gels as well as some tape rolls on the reso heads round out the sound nicely. As for the overdub toms, we used the 12 and 16-inch toms from our Gretsch Renowned kit with clear pinstripe heads and a low tuning for lots of attack. Here's how they sound. For the hi-hat, we use a combination of Zildjian A new beat top and an Avedis bottom cymbal, 17 and 18-inch A-thin crashes, and a 22-inch K Constantinople medium thin low ride. Now let's take a look at the mics. Inside of the kick, we used a Beyerdynamic M88 combined with an M90 Pro X for some very low end. The snare has an M201 top and bottom, and the toms have M88s, and on the hi-hat we used a ribbon M160 for a slightly less harsh sound over a condenser microphone. The same goes for the ride cymbal as well. As AB overheads, we used a pair of MC740s. One thing Ash often does is using an old telephone as a crunchy lo-fi room mic. Luckily, Pascal has one, so we used it and placed it relatively low in front of the snare just to give it a chance to pick up some low end from the bass drum as well. One M90 Pro X farther away in the room rounds out the setup. Now let's listen to the result. This is the drum part, complete with all 4 layers. This is the main part isolated. This is the marching snare part isolated. Here's the tom overdub. And lastly, some cymbal swells and the LP tambourine mic'd with the Ride Cymbals M160. Here's everything combined with the music.
I let it fall, my heart, and as it fell, you rose to claim it. It was dark, and I was over, until you kissed my lips and you saved me. My hands, they were strong, but my knees were far too weak.
Besides making recordings using different drum sounds for each artist, SOAN has also established his own unique style of crushed and distorted drum sounds as seen on his Instagram page. Check out one of his most viewed posts. To recreate this sound, we had to make a few changes to our setup. First, we swapped out the snare for a 14 by 5.5 inch Gretsch Calatina drum, which Pascal tuned pretty high. Ash often places an old Walkman on the snare for muffling. The closest in weight we had was this LP jam block, which also did the trick. To complete the kit in a way that complements his Instagram setups, we swapped the left crash for a Zildjian FX raw crash and the right one for a 16-inch stack. Pascal redid the mix for this sound, so if you want to see what exactly happened in post-production, remember to stick around for next week's episode covering the mixing process. Now here's his attempt to play what Ash played in his Instagram post. How did you like our recreations? Do you think we got close? Tell us in the comments. Also, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit the bell so you don't miss any new videos. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.